Okay, so the first color drawing that I'm going to do is with oil pastels. I have them here. I'm using a piece of paper that's a little bit reddish gray. It's warm. And I'm doing a still life of fruit that I have set up on my table. You can see a bit of it there. So I'm going to try to start doing objective colors, meaning the real colors that I see. And I'm getting out a couple colors that I'm going to use. I drew it in first. So this right here is a peach. So I'm just getting some colors. I'm going to use some yellows, some oranges, and some reds. So I'm going to do 3 drawings, an oil pastel, a chalk pastel, and a colored pencil. Just so you can see the different mediums, I'm doing realistic colors or objective colors right now, which is the colors that I see. I'm not trying to change them, which is something we'll learn about later. So these, I don't know if you've ever used these before, but they're oil pastels, so the base is oil. They're like crayons, but they're more oily than crayons. I'm just putting in some areas of yellow where I see them, and then I'm going to blend. I'm getting some orange. That was kind of a red orange. This is more of a regular orange. So I'm blocking in areas of color right now before I try to blend. So I'm just looking at the peach on my table and blocking in areas of color. It's going to be much more blended. I'm just getting some basics in here to help me get started. So basically I'm just looking at it and I'm looking for areas of yellow, yellow orange, and orange. Okay, that's my starting point. It needs a lot more blending, but I'm just getting the color in. And I'm the type of person, and I do recommend this. I don't like to just focus on one thing, then focus on another thing. I like to get a whole layer down and then go in and do another layer where I'm adding detail, because that way you're working around the picture. So right here, I have a green pepper. So I'm just getting some greens out that I think are going to help. And I'm going to block in colors. Sorry, I just dropped something. So these are the greens that I'm going to use. And I'm going to start with the light green. This is like painting. I'm going to do a series of painting classes as well, but if you do painting, it's similar to painting in the sense that you're layering. So you're kind of blocking in what you see first, and then later on you're adding more. So you're kind of going from blurry to focused. The pepper is a little bit harder than the peach in terms of the shape. It has folds in it. And a lot more curves. I'm kind of using line to delineate the curves, which may or may not be what I use later. It kind of wraps around and the stem comes out in the middle. When I drew not that much level of detail, more of kind of a generalized shape. And I'm still doing that right now, except for that I'm doing it with color. I'm putting color in the generalized shape, and in the second layer, I'll add more detail. This is a lot harder than drawing in black and white just because you have so many more choices and you have to make them work together. You can't really erase this, so if you're using this, be careful. I'll show you what happens when I try to erase it. Well, it kind of comes off. It's oily and greasy, so you're never going to truly get it off. Again, the colors are going to be modified. I'm just getting kind of a general thing in here. And then I'm going to take a look at this. In here, the stem comes out and then it wraps around the stem. So I'm trying to make a shape for this stem that's in the middle and what it's coming out of. Okay. All right, and then it wraps around behind that. I tried to erase that, but then I just put it back. So this needs a lot of work, but this is my first layer. Again, this is something that requires a lot of practice. No, I'm talking to myself about how I think it looks. Okay. If you have paper, again, you can leave parts of the paper showing. Okay, so now I'm looking at, this is a red pepper, this is like a flower pot, and this is a lime. So since I have my green out, I'm just gonna delve into the lime for a second. But I'm probably gonna change the outline a little bit. It seems a little off to me. You can actually see the lime right there. And I'm actually going to learn how to get a photograph on the video, but I am not there yet, so just bear with me. I'm just trying to change the outline. I feel like it was taking up a little too much space. All right, and there's kind of a yellowish area up here, but now it's turning brown. I'm going to leave it yellow. Put in some light green. I'm going to bring that down here a little bit and some darker green. All right, that's kind of my line, but that may need a little bit more work. I'm going to bring it out over here. And then I'm taking a look at this red pepper. So I'm trying to put like cool colors, warm colors, cool colors, warm colors, complements. But you don't have to organize something in that way. It's just something I tried to do to make the color stand out. And then I tried to put it on a warm piece of paper. And in this red pepper, for the lighter areas, I'm going to try to let the paper show through. Again, I do have to say that black and white is much, if you haven't done color and you're just delving into this, it's going to be a bit of a transition. Black and white is a lot easier because you don't have so many things to choose from. And while right now I'm kind of just blocking in the regular colors that I see, they have lights and darks on them that I'm going to have to work on when I add detail. And in here again, there's a stem that's sticking out. Just trying to get the shape right. I didn't really define it that much with the pencil. Okay, so let me get my green for the stem. Okay. I'm going to leave it like that because I'm going to leave some of the pink paper showing. And then I have a pot behind that's brown-ish, beige-ish. But I want to leave maybe some of the pink paper showing as well on this. Just getting started here with the color. Kind of changing the shape a little bit. So as you're drawing, you're always changing things. Again, this is my first layer, just trying to get some color on here to get started. These are realistic colors, so objective colors, the actual colors of what I'm drawing. Okay. So these objects have shadows. So there's objective colors. I'm sorry, I'm going on a lot of different tangents, but There's objective colors, which are the real colors that you see, and then there's subjective colors, which are colors that an artist uses to just create kind of their own kind of interpretations, you know, like a blue person. So again, that's something you should know. So these are objective colors. I'm putting in the cast shadow of the objects. You can't really see that because I don't want to, I'm kind of, it's really late. This is my first kind of test run of this to see how it looks. Okay. Okay, so now I'm going to add some more detail. And I think I'm going to start with this pepper. So there's areas of the pepper that are darker. So remember, you can make something darker by adding a darker color, by adding black, by adding a dark gray, or by adding the complement. In this case, I'm going to go with a dark green, just for these kind of dark crevice areas. And I'm slowing down now. I'm not drawing so quickly because I'm kind of trying to get some detail in here. Okay, so then I'm going back to the green I was using and I'm kind of blending into it so that doesn't look like such an extreme dark green line. Okay. I'm going to slowly work on this pepper and I'm just, since I have the dark green in my hand, I'm just looking for areas of dark. And I'm also seeing if I need to redraw certain areas that I'm putting in. There's kind of a crevice right here. So it's kind of darker. So I'm just putting that in. And I'm bringing this back over it to kind of blend. So these you blend by doing layer over layer. Okay. So a really nice drawing is going to take you quite a bit of time, at least an hour and maybe more. It's not perfect. It's going to take me a while to kind of get it there. And I'm trying to, I think I want to take a look at the stem right now. The oil pastel is a little bit more time consuming than the chalk pastel. Okay, so there's a stem right here, and then there's kind of, I don't even know what this is called, but there's like something around it that it's sticking out of. And this is a bit darker, so I'm going to go dark around the stem. I'm just looking at it, trying to figure out what the next thing is going to be. So here, I'm just looking for areas that are darker right now because I have the darker value in my hand. And I'm just focusing on the different parts and the crevices in the pepper before I do anything else. Still needs a lot of work. But as you can see, it's slowly kind of evolving and getting a little bit more detailed. And peppers are quite challenging. So maybe an apple would be an easy place to start, but by all means do a pepper if you want to challenge yourself. Trying to get the right shape for the background. Okay, that still needs a lot more work actually, but I'm happy with like kind of delineating it. And I'm now going to look a little bit more carefully at the darks and the lights in the different parts of the pepper. So like I kind of just blocked it in really fast. So I'm kind of going through each part and kind of seeing how the darks and the lights should look. This green is quite bright, so I'm going to try to dull it down with this gray green. And remember, you can dull with black, white, gray, or the complement. And I want to blend, like one of the problems people have when they start drawing is like they see a light here and they see a dark here and they just leave it like that instead of blending it together because the surface is curved. So it's not going to look like a stripe of one value and then a stripe of another value in color. It's going to kind of blend together. And it doesn't look that great. And okay, so since you're layering this on, it's harder to, it's easier to darken than it is to lighten because this is pretty heavy kind of stuff, right? And if you want to lighten it, you're going to have a bit of a problem if you went really dark. This part is lighter. I'm not totally like ecstatic over this pepper, but it's getting there. I'm just blocking in some light green because that's going to be kind of my base. If I see highlights on it, I'm going to add some white later. But I'm not going to let the pink paper show through here because the pink is not a color that's actually on the pepper. If there was a white paper, I might let it show through. Except it's not that noticeable. All right. So you're doing a lot of layering and a lot of blending. I'm going to go dark in here. And then I'm going to add some of the gray green to kind of dull it down. All right. This is by no means perfect. But it's kind of starting to look like a pepper. I'm just looking for areas that are darker than other areas and trying to block those in or blend and shade them in. And I'm gonna work around it. That could use more work, but I'm gonna leave it because it's like kind of semi-done. And as I said, I like to work around the picture. So I'm just figuring out what I'm gonna do next. I'm gonna delve into the peach a little bit more. And I'm just putting in the darker red where I see it. It's a couple different colors. I'm just looking for areas that are darker. And the shading that I'm doing, I'm going with the contour of the object. So I'm making cross contour lines within the shading. And that's going to help show that it's round. when I stop, I'm kind of looking at it and trying to figure out what I need to do. I'm getting more of a red orange. I'm bringing it in over here. This part is a little bit lighter. And then I'm going to get a regular orange as opposed to a red orange and kind of block in some areas. And I'm thinking to myself, does it look too bright? But I'm gonna kind of get the basics in and then decide that maybe on another layer. But it is actually pretty bright, so. All right, I mean, I'm okay with it for right now. Now I'm gonna take a look at this pot. And I'm looking for areas, like this is an area that's darker. And I just noticed that this looks a little lopsided. Straighten that out a little bit. Okay. I'm just starting with this color, but it's probably going to change a bit because there's not a color like the color of the pot that I'm doing. So I'm just starting with this for the darker area. And then we'll see. Okay, this is gonna have to be a little, it looks lopsided to me for some reason. Okay. That looks even more lopsided. Hold on. Well, that's gonna have to do. Okay. So anyway, this is pretty time consuming, but it is also relaxing. Okay. It's a little darker under this. Okay, so now I need to leave that alone for a second. That needs a little bit more work. But I'm going to take a look at this pepper right here, the red pepper. And I'm just looking for areas of light and dark again. And that pink is probably too light to leave the page, leave as just the page, right? Which is what I was thinking before. I can not press as hard and leave some of the pink showing through. But I'm gonna have to come up with a way to make parts of the red darker so I can go for a complement, but I'm actually going for a violet because it's a darker color. I'm just going to test it out here and see how it looks. I could also use black, but I think that might be a little too extreme. Can't really, well, yeah, you can see it. Let me try one other thing. I want to try this and just see if that's too. Well, that's a starting point. So you can go back over the dark with the red to kind of blend it. That may be a little too dark. Still needs a bit of work here. But it's going to take me a bit of time. While I have this dark color right here, I'm actually going to look at the cast shadows for a second. Because they need to be darker. And this is blue. I may add to it later. I'm probably going to add to it. I just want to get something in there that I can see. That's too bright. All right, that looks better so far. I'm going to go back into the red pepper for a second. I'm looking for areas that are lighter and darker. Okay. I'm going to come in with the violet to see how that looks. This doesn't seem quite dark enough. Let me try the blue again. I just don't want it to get too dark so I can't fix it. So that's kind of a shadow on the pepper. It looks all right. Doesn't look great. Let me take a short little look at the stem. Okay. Just trying to block this in here. All right. Looking for areas of light and dark, and I'm going to get my bright green here. Hold on. It kind of has like a, I don't know what this is, the bottom part of the stem. Okay, I'm going to put some bright green in there just as a base color, and then I'll see what I need to do to it. All right, that's a starting point. And let's look at this thing. And it comes up over here. It's actually coming along. It needs a lot more work, but just trying to figure out what areas are darker and what areas are lighter. Okay, I'm going to come in here with my violet. It's violet is, it's kind of so similar to the red that it's kind of hard to see. But I'm going to start with the violet, and if I need to go darker, I'll go into the blues. I'm looking for areas that are darker or in shadow. All right. And take a look at the lime. I'm going to come back into the pepper, come back into this, and then okay, now I'm going to get my lighter green. Oops. So again, be sparing with when you're going dark because it's hard to lighten it. That this line needs some work. I'm just looking for areas of light and dark. Done. And that needs more work, but let me leave it alone for a second. I'm actually probably going to, I always say I'm going to leave it alone and then I start messing with it. Just putting some green over that yellow. And then I'm going to go into these cast shadows. And these cast shadows need work. Okay, so now I'm actually getting out my black because the cast shadows are too bright. They're usually darkest right under the object. So some people would use like the orange and blue. So the orange of the peach to make the cast shadow, and then the blue, which is its complement, which neutralizes and turns into a gray. So I'm trying to get the black at least right under the object. And that's kind of looking, I like the cast shadows, that's looking better. All right, so I'm going to make a line, and I am kind of imagining the table because the table that I'm on, the line you can't see it because it's such a large table, but I'm imagining a line about right here. You could, when you imagine a line, you could go straight across or you could go diagonal. So I'm putting in a table line. All right. And I'm thinking to myself, like, I want to leave this pink showing here, right? Because that way the cast shadows are showing and they come out dramatically. But what color do I want the background to be? I'm going to put in some black here, maybe not over the whole thing, but I think it's going to make the shapes, the colorful shapes, stand out. There we go. I'm not done. I just, as I said, I like to work around the image. I highly recommend it. because if you focus on one thing and don't put in others that are in relationship to it, you kind of, things might get off when you're moving stuff around or adding detail to other things. So I'm probably going to do some black, but leave some of the pink paper showing in the background, but I'm definitely going to do black around the objects above the table. Yeah, that makes them stand out much more. Okay. And above this line, so you can see a differentiation between the table and the background. And I may do more with it. This is a starting point, I guess. All right. Yeah, that's my starting point. I need to take a look at this, and I'm gonna go in the whole thing with brown and then add another color for the dark areas. I'm just thinking to myself, I'm gonna get some purple. Let me see how that looks. Again, the purple is so light. I'm gonna go back into the blue. So one thing that's gonna create harmony, since I have this blue here, and I'm repeating it over here, that's gonna show repetition in color and create some harmony in the color of the drawing. So repetition is something that creates harmony, and I'll do a whole series on color harmonies, but do I like that blue? I'm talking to myself, but I'm just asking a question that I would ask to figure out if I think something's working out in the drawing or not. Or do I like a darker brown? Let me see. Or do I like both? Okay. I'm looking for areas of the pot that are darker. And I'm starting, the blue might be too extreme, but I mean, I can't fix that. So I'm starting to just put the darker areas in with the darker brown. This is like This is like the delineation of this, but you're seeing it through the inside. I don't know, the pot needs work. So this takes time. Some of the things you do, you're gonna like. Some of the things you are gonna do, you're not gonna like. So you're gonna have to be patient while you're learning. Okay. Or while you're practicing or while you're drawing. All right. Okay, I'm gonna come back in with my blue. All right. All right. Just again, looking for areas that are darker. I'm not too, I don't know if I'm really happy with the way the pot looks right now. But I'm gonna keep going and see what I can do. I don't know. I'm going back to this kind of reddish brown that I started with and maybe putting that in a little bit stronger. And some here as well. Okay, now it needs work, but one thing at a time. So I'm looking at the vegetables and I'm thinking which needs, I think these two look kind of really, I mean, not perfect, but they look pretty good. So close to done. So I'm gonna look at this red pepper and the lime to start. And I'm getting more of an orange or red for the lighter areas. There's also highlights. So I'm trying to leave some of the paper showing, but only for highlights, like where the light is hitting it and it's really uh, making it look almost white. I'm just kind of looking at it. Okay. Okay, so I'm gonna come back and with a dark in here. I'm gonna have the blue and the purple out. And I'm just gonna kind of put in my shadows. and look for my dark areas. And I can go back over it with red as well. Okay. I'm just looking at it to see how I think it looks. Like if it's kind of going in the right direction, basically. And some right here. And I think it's starting to look better with the blue. You can get frustrated when you're learning to draw because you can do a lot of things that may not kind of turn out the right way or the way that you thought they would. So you just have to kind of use trial and error. Fortunately, I have some experience with color, so I'm making educated guesses. But when you're drawing, you're going to start doing stuff and you'll find out what works for you. And like now that I'm thinking to myself, what I was thinking to myself is that since I put the blue in here and the blue in here, I can also put the blue in here and the blue in here, and that will harmonize the colors. But give me a second because I'm not quite ready for that. I need to enhance some of the red on here or deepen or kind of just make it look more uniform. So again, this is our first lesson in color. I'm going to do quite a few because I actually really like color, but as you delve into it, you're going to figure out if you like color or black and white better and what you're better at. You're going to have to practice this. This is kind of, it's a bit challenging and there's a lot to learn, but you're going to find out what combinations you're good at. So like some people, like, what am I trying to say? You can learn anything by practicing, but some people, they like automatically have a natural talent for color when they start their work. Some people have a natural talent for like portraits. So you're going to figure out what that is, but you can also, I truly believe you can get better at anything with practice. And I believe that. I just believe that some people have like a gift for certain aspects of art that's like kind of obvious when they start working. Just like when you send kids to school, like some of them are like really good at math, some of them are really good at English. Same thing with art. Some people are just naturally really good at color, and some people have to work a little bit harder for it. But anyone can get really good at anything with practice. It's just, it's going to seem a little overwhelming at first if you haven't done it before. I don't know. I need to leave that pepper alone for a while. Okay, so I'm gonna come back into the lime, put some of this blue in it. I don't feel like I'm making it any better. I'm going more green with this. All right, this definitely needs, I mean, I'm not going to take up hours and hours with this, which I could because if I was left to my own devices, I can be a bit of a perfectionist at certain times, which is good if you're an artist to do that, but within reason. And also, you guys kind of understand the concept, so you don't need to see me fiddling with it for hours on it. Okay. I mean, I don't know if I'm happy with this pepper or the lime, but I'm gonna come back into the pot because the pot doesn't look so great. So I'm gonna come in with maybe some black. And I'm gonna come back in with my red brown. I'm actually gonna just do kind of a going over the whole thing with the red brown and pressing harder. I don't like the paper showing through this. I thought it was gonna look really good, but it didn't. Okay, so I'm gonna come in here with some black and try to make it look a little bit better. So it's time consuming. And sometimes you can get frustrated because you'll be working on something and then you'll say, well, I just messed this whole thing up and I spent 2 or 3 hours on it, and that's a part of the process. But if you do it enough, you won't mess that many things up. That looks better. Okay, I'm gonna make this black in the background a little bit darker. Just to make the object stand out a little bit more. And delineate the edges. I'm trying to have it fade into the paper in the background. Okay. And just, I mean, I don't want to make this video too long. So, I mean, you kind of have the idea, but I'm going to come back in here with my regular, a little bit darker brown than the red brown. Kind of put a little bit more of that in. I'm not really happy necessarily with the pot, but you know, I'm doing my best. And then I'm going to come back into the pepper with the red orange in some of the lighter areas. And you know, I don't want to mess it up anymore. And it's taking me, so this drawing has been over an hour. And I could probably spend another hour on it, correcting it and making it nicer. I'm just going to go a little darker right here. See, I can start seeing something and messing with it. But I think you get the idea. It's not perfect. It took me probably about an hour and a half with blocking it in beforehand, which I didn't put on video. And there you go. So you can do that with any objects or fruits you have at home. I would keep them easy if it's your first time.